Should be better.
Okay, can you guys hear sound now? And I'll run by everything that they just said.
Oh, I do need.
I need a sound check. Can you guys hear? You? Yes. Okay. So Erica and Whitney. Whitney has taken Rhonda's class before, about a year ago, and she has her own business, which is.
So I own Tropical Epoxy in Marathon, Florida, in the Florida Keys, and so this beach finish that we're about to do for me, it hits home because it's very similar to the water that I live around, and this finish for me sells like hotcakes. So it's going to be really awesome to be able to teach people how to do it.
Dude, I sell oceans all day in Dallas.
And
this is one of the finishes that's most popular for art, and a lot of times for countertops. She does floors with oceans.
Yep.
I'm not touching a floor, but.
And just because you guys didn't hear before, we're over at Rhonda Draculis's place at RK3 Designs. I have to always push that out to make sure I say it right. Draculis.
Not Dracula.
No, I didn't say that.
We talked about you yesterday.
And
Kendra Draculis. You know, like the coolest.
the coolest, yes. And she's in the middle of teaching her epoxy pro class, and we're on day 2 of the marathon class.
Mm-hmm.
Which, check it out if you are taking resin really serious and about to bring it into your business. It is must.
So we like to use tints when we do oceans because water is transparent, you see through it really easily, and it gives awesome depth. All of the oceans that you see in here are probably with tints. I think I did most of them. Yeah. I'm not gonna claim that one. It's not mine for real. Up on the stairs. For real. That one wasn't mine. I think Kenny did that. Anyway, really? Mm-hmm. I think he tried after I left. He was like, "Do this."
I'm just gonna tell them kind of how I just did this.
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
So I personally like to put more dye in mine. I really like a deep color. Excuse me. But you know, it all depends on what you're going for. So Erica has, you know, hers is a little more transparent than mine, or lighter color. So she put less dye.
Mm-hmm.
She put less drops. You just play with it until you get to the point where, you know, the color that you want.
The colors are buildable. These are tints from Color Obsession. You can add as little or as much as you want. It's not going to change the chemistry of the resin, and it will never be opaque. You're just deepening the color. I use a couple drops for my shoreline, and then I'll add a couple more into this as we get deeper, because it'll change the color, but give depth and dimension.
What colors are you using?
On this piece, we're using turquoise seas for the. I call this a shoreline color because it's kind of more green as it rolls up onto the beach.
Are they dyes or inks?
They're tints.
They're tints. They're not water-based. I don't know what science is in them. I know that they will eat a thin.
You know, I put some blue dye on the beach, but hey, we can put a turtle there.
That is true.
Alcohol and a rag.
Happy there. Yeah.
I know. She's going to these instead of the old school droppers.
I mean, I like them.
It's easier for me to ship. Selfishly, I prefer them.
Could I have a little more? We're gonna put a turtle here and just pretend it didn't happen.
What happened? I don't know what you're talking about.
It's just a shadow.
Shadow. It's a shadow of the water that used to be.
Can somebody hand us some more?
Somebody
paper towels?
spilled their Gatorade there on the beach.
Mm-hmm. Someone was digging for sand right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gatorade, I like it. Yeah.
Okay, so the white that I'm using is titanium from Just Resin. It's a paste. I don't know if Rhonda's gone over the difference in paste, tints, dyes, micas, all of that, but
Loosely, but not specifically yet.
gotcha. So a paste is a pigment that's made for resin. It's got a binder in it. That is also some kind of science that I don't know. But it mixes into resin really easily. A lot of people like to use acrylics to color their resin in the art world. I don't recommend that, but it's possible. Because you shouldn't use anything water-based because it's going to break down the durability of your resin.
And just as a side note, that 10% thing is very, very critical if you do decide to go into acrylic paints, because you get the wrong percentage, it sets up real fast.
Yeah, it'll.
And you'll get that, marshmallow fluff thing in no time.
It's not cheap.
And the colors aren't nearly as rich. Nearly.
Yeah. So this is super opaque. It's kind of like the Illuminate guys, but it's heavier, so it'll be better at getting me the cells that I'm looking for. Whitney's gonna use color obsession. You may have to hit that with a heat gun to open it. Never mind. She's got game.
I secretly tried to open it earlier. It was really tough, so I loosened it earlier. But
Cheater.
Whitney, you're not supposed to say that. You go with a bang there.
I'm honest. I can't help it.
So you guys didn't hear. Oh, sorry. Y'all didn't hear before. We're using Just Resin Diamond Coat resin.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of resin in that. Go ahead.
Yes. So I'm using Color Obsession Snow White. This is my go-to. I rarely use anything else, ever. I just really like the sizes of the cells that I get from this. You can use whatever one you like. If you like foamier cells, there's different types of pigments for that. But I just personally like how these cells open up. So you'll see that in a second.
Yeah. I'm adding a little bit of abalone shell into my resin. It's a kind of a mica, but it's ultra shimmery. And so if you only use a little bit, it gives just an elegant, slight sparkle.
Is it kind of multicolored?
Yeah, it's opal.
Like some kilos or
It's one of my favorites. So while she's doing that, I'm gonna get started on this. No, I guess I should let you guys.
That's what I thought it was.
So Whitney prepped this board for me. Thanks.
I messed it up, but it's okay.
Do you want to talk about the board since we've
Actually, yeah, we should. So I took, basically what I did here was, the board was not even prepped with any color. It was actually a board that was poured by Rhonda's, I think, class last time. And so what we did was I took a sand color and I sprayed the beach, and then right over top of it, while it was even still wet, I took the stone, what is it called? What's the brand of the stone spray? Down there on that bottom. Rust-Oleum stone spray. I like the lightest color that you can get with that. They have variations of colors. But I like to go right over top of that because it gives you a really cool beach sand finish. For this one, I used a different brand. So you can see the black fleck in that. And then what I did was I just faded my ocean colors from light to dark. You can pick whatever variation of colors that you like. Every time you do that, it gives you a completely different beach look.
She didn't vary mine, so.
there's no wrong combination because everybody's beach looks different depending on the minerals and deposits and such.
Exactly. So
So, yeah.
go ahead.
I just used a little bit of clear right here to figure out my shoreline. And this is also going to separate my white from my blue so I don't end up with a light blue wave. The white will stay white.
Now, Erica, can I ask you something? Because when I do this, I do them for tables, countertops, things.
Or you're doing all over resin?
Yeah. So normally, but I learned something yesterday from the cornhole boards. I guess you guys do it this way, and then when you do the flood coat, it levels it out. So you don't have to
You do a taped out flood coat.
You do,
Yeah.
so that's what gives you this flat surface. Okay, so does anybody have questions about that? Because what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pour like I'm pouring a table for a restaurant. So I'm going to clear this whole sand and then add my waves in. I think Erica's going to do. So she's going to end her wave here and have sand exposed.
Yeah.
And then I guess later you can always do a flood coat if you were to make it into a flat surface.
What I would do is do the matte top coat where the sand is, because the reason, as an artist, I do countertops and tables, but my bread and butter is artwork.
Right, and mine is tabletops and everything else. So, so I'm going to do it that way, and then that way you guys can see the differences. But I believe you can do it this way and still flood over it.
Yeah, I would just tape up the sides so that, because if you just do a flood without taping the sides, you'll see that ridge because it'll self-level. Not how you want it.
Not pretty.
No. But I still don't like the shape of my shore.
And I did not put any glitter in this layer because I usually add glitter into my, or whatever you use, glitter, abalone, halo. I love halo. or if I'm gonna do a second color coat, I'll put it in that. So I'm not too worried about it. Right now, this coat is really just about getting your design and color down.
Yeah. So, but if I wanted to do this for a table, I would probably use ultimate top coat here. Okay. To keep the sand matte. Because it should be. Because it stands dry.
It should be, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Anyway,
I use real sand in my work from the Keys.
Well, in Dallas we don't have.
Well, you do when you go to Michael's and you go get the jar of sand, you know. Sorry.
If I did use sand, I would use synthetic just because the color's not going to change. All the sand that I've ever used turned into like a weird gray color.
Yeah.
But it in resin.
It can.
So I would use a synthetic sand because it's just going to be that color.
True. All right, Erica, you need to speak up apparently. Having trouble. Oh, apparently in Whitney too. Yes, we are live.
Hey guys.
Yeah, look who's in the house. Say hey. Oh, if you speak up, I'm gonna put you on. You know that. So Whitney, when you do, oops, sorry.
No. Yes.
When you do your sand, how do you add sand to your board? Everybody kind of does it a little bit different.
So I pre-mix my sand with the resin, and then you just lay it out just like resin.
Do you have it like be a real thick paste or fairly thin?
Okay, so it is whatever you're going for. You can actually add just a little bit of resin to it, enough to give it would be more textured. It'd still level out, but I like it to be kind of soupy because I really want it to level. I really want a tabletop surface.
Okay.
So I will put, I don't really have a ratio for it, I'm sorry.
No, that's but I mean, is it like a peanut butter? Is it loose or like a honey kind of thing, or
it's
you know?
It's like a thick, cold honey.
Okay. Yeah, that helps.
Yeah. Okay.
So I like to use
So if I do this, that means go louder.
I hope I have enough here.
Do you have enough? I think so, yeah. So I'm gonna use my hand too. Really wasn't much in there, was there?
There was a little bit more in this.
In the big one.
I'll see, I'm gonna just spread it out real quick and see. Can you grab me a small glove?
Yes. Because I have ink all over
This glove.
Thank you.
Yes or no, just in case.
I just add a little bit of pigment every once in a while to give a little bit of variation in my color. But I'm still only using the same 3 colors.
Right. So I pretty much only use 2 colors as well, and then I use the base coat of the spray paint as my first layer of depth. So sometimes I'll even use 5 different blues to get my fade from light to dark. Then using the 2 colors of resin, you still get variations of shading because of the undercoat of spray paint.
So now we're just working the color together. I do from dark to light so I can bring up some of the deep shade. But Whitney may do it opposite. I bring the dark into the light color.
Yeah, I try to blend
the 2 together. It looks more natural that way. I mean, when do you go to the ocean and it's not, it's solid blue right here and then solid
light blue here? No, it's all different variations, right?
You want it to be, I like mine to be natural. I want alien beach.
I think you're using the wrong colors then.
I've done alien beaches. I've done all colors.
You've done the unicorn beach.
We did Sunset Beach and Unicorn Beach. Oh man. All of the colors.
Are you going to do high heat and runoff? Do we need coasters?
Full runoff because I'm not using cake. I gave cake to Whitney. You can use it. We have the same area.
Okay then. Never mind.
No, we're gonna use different attachments to kind of show the differences in what they do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use what I call platypus attachment. I think it's called a diffuser.
Mine's a cake
in grown-up terms, and I think that one's called a concentrator in grown-up terms.
Is it?
So
But I call it a wedding cake.
Marcy, they're calling you out and they're asking if you're gonna do an ocean on your channel.
And I use a platypus.
We got a maybe on that one.
A platypus. That's what it is. That like a Jack Sparrow or whatever?
A Jack Sparrow is kind of different. It doesn't fly.
That was a nice night. That was so much fun.
Okay, so I'm applying my white where it touches both the sand and the water. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want it to grab onto the sand so I can stretch the wave. Otherwise, the resin's just going to move over the top of it a little bit too much for me for this look. But Whitney's is going to be resin on resin. Yes. So you'll see the difference.
I guess for a smooth line, you don't have to walk it up.
So, copy makes me tired.
I want to show you guys something. So I did not mix my deep blue or whatever deep cut blue we're using here enough. You can actually see the streaks of the dye in my
I did
resin.
that too, but I do
I
that on
like
purpose
it.
sometimes.
Same. Yeah, I liked how it came out because it gives it, there's little, I don't know if you can see the little streaks. But usually I do try to mix, because I can always pick some of this deep blue up and run it through my lighter turquoise and mix them like that, but it looks kind of cool.
It looks kind of cool for sure.
I also sprinkle a little bit like diamond dust and then move it around with my hands.
Yeah, so it's in certain areas.
Yeah.
Very smart.
So right now I'm just popping the bubbles because I want to make sure I don't have any hair or fuzz or dust bunnies or any other critters.
Can't blame it on Bowie this time.
I will always blame it on Bowie. If there's a hair in here, it's probably Bowie's.
And it's an extra $200.
Also that. Okay, the reason why it's so important to make sure there's no floaters before you do this is because I'm going to stretch this wave, and if it catches on something, it's going to split your wave, and it's not going to be cute.
Nobody likes a floater.
Not cute.
I said nobody likes a floater.
No one likes a floater in their liquids. So, I'm going to put, y'all are going to help me with degrees. I don't know how many degrees this is, but that's the degrees I'm going to
Two.
take it.
2 to 3.
Also that. Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Floater. Oh, he's a floater.
He's a stucker.
He's a goner.
Oh, he
Like,
did.
You can't.
Oh, he did.
You can't come back from that.
He does. Turtle.
Keep
At
him.
least give him the chance.
It's been pre-bugged.
That's his torture.
Let him die with pyramid cake. You're not gonna take him out. Okay.
If I was gonna eat something, I'd kill it.
I'm going to preheat a section and then push the wave and then move on. But before I do that, let me try to
Okay.
turn
And
it.
I'm gonna torch mine because I don't have time to wait around for like this heat gun
Thing.
bubble, you know, popping things. I'm just gonna go for the torch. Usually when I'm in the shop, I'm like moving quick. I got 10 things going at once.
Says Miss Muscles that opened the jar easily.
Showing me up. Okay. I'm just gonna push a section at a time. I'm just pushing it till it starts to move, and then I'm moving on a little bit, and then I'll come back. Then I'll do the next part.
Guys, this is a super long table. I can only get so close.
We need the
And then I'll
selfie
do
stick
the next part.
or the gimbal.
What? No. No. Okay.
Then I'll do the next part. Then I'll do the next part.
That's nice.
That's pretty. And the little bubbles look like they look fun. So how do the cells happen? Is it? There's no alcohol, is
Do you want to explain or do you want me to?
there?
How the cells form. What makes the cells form?
Oh, if you want to get sciencey, you go for it. Because that's grown
I'm
up
not
science.
100% sure I'm right. So.
And you have some.
Sorry, I was
some
adjusting
dyes
that.
that are top cell and bottom cell.
I do have top cell and base cell pigments. The base cell, I wouldn't do this design. See how that messed up?
Both of these pastes they're using are considered top cell, where you want them to be on top of all the colors to have reactions.
Yeah.
base cell, I'll do a different demo. Should we do a chance? I'm trying to see up there which one to have.
You just whispered in Rhonda's ear, and she's like, yeah.
So I'm gonna wait till Erica's done and then do mine.
No, go for it. I'm just edging out my wave.
Okay. So since now we have a full coat of resin on our board, even over our sand. Oh, this keeps getting dry. There must be water.
You guys have seen Erica do this 1,000 times, but y'all haven't seen Whitney do it, so I'm just gonna focus in on Whitney.
Right. Oh God, not too close.
No, I'm on the board.
Okay. So I always start with my beach wave first, and then I depending on like how big your piece is or what you're working on, like sometimes I do tiny coasters that I get my substrates from Erica. They're awesome. They're plexiglass, and what's great about it is that they come with this peel back on them, or top and back. And when you're done pouring, you have the drips. You can just rip that back off. You don't have to worry about sanding or anything. So
Once it's cured.
When I'm working on a small substrate like that, I will go ahead and pour just one wave because the white wave. You don't want it to be overpowering on something so small. Something bigger like this, I'll pour my one beach wave like that, and then I'll probably do one more thin wave through my blues, and then blow them out. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. And I start thinner because you can always. I like to go back sometimes and moderate and then blow it again. But you don't want to. It's all about learning what resin you're working with and your pigments and things. Because if you blow your white too much, you'll get clouds. So I'm just gonna do that one.
You notice we always start pouring our lines off the substrate so we don't get that initial blob.
Right.
You want to start off and pour all the way off.
So I'm gonna just go back and add a little bit of a thicker, because to me, a thicker, foamier wave by the beach is more natural.
It makes sense with it hitting all the resistance too.
Yeah. I'm gonna add a little more to this one.
I think that one may be just resin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it may sink.
Is it?
Yeah, it may sink. It's heavier than snow. We may want to hit that one too.
Which one?
The
Oh,
one
all
you
of them?
just did,
The thick one?
just resin. This line was just resin. You put your cup here and then you pick up this one. So this one was just resin.
Uh-oh.
So this line, you can tell the whites are a little bit different.
Cool, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
We have an experiment happening.
So I like to hit my area that I'm blowing my resin with heat, so that you get a little bit more movement. Sorry, Erica.
We're good. It's fun to help out.
Apparently she was trying to dry Erica's hair. I don't know.
I was trying to light her hair on fire, I guess. So now you're going to get more movement out of your resin because you heated it up. So I'll kind of go and do one like this.
So you're almost at a 45-degree angle, aren't you?
Yeah, even more. Sometimes you'll get it where the resin will skip, like it'll throw white droplets across your piece. So you gotta be careful with that, but you can always just take it out with your finger or blend it in.
That is the cake attachment that she's got on there. It's also one of those things that really concentrates the heat and the airflow. Erica has them on her website if you want to order those.
I was going to ask if you wanted me to tilt that while you're doing it. Y'all be careful when you're using these concentrator nozzles. It'll scorch your resin super easy, and then you'll end up with a scab or yellow wave.
And don't set it down on a piece of paper and light it on fire.
It's true.
That sounds like experience.
Nope, never done that.
So I like to blow my
I'm about to get hot over here.
colored epoxy into my second wave a little bit because it tints it a lighter blue, or it gives it a blue hue, and it makes it look like it's a wave that's an undertow wave.
Curled under.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody here surfs, but if you've ever surfed, you know what an undertow
All
is.
the time in Nebraska.
Daily.
We're surfing the internet. Oh, you mean the ocean? Oh, sorry.
What's smoking? Maybe someone touched it with resin at some point. I'm sure it's done. It is smoking.
Yeah, it's probably got goop on it.
Probably got epoxy on it. Okay. So, there. I have one more thing I'm gonna do here. Where'd my mana go?
Giant Manta, where are you?
Mm-hmm.
So is that the color obsession?
Color obsession.
And that's what does it?
I'll get in close so you guys can see details
They would look
when they're done.
the same.
There's so
If
many
I
people
did
around here, it'd be
side by side
tricky.
with
What's going on, Claire?
Nothing, I was just telling them I'll get in closer
titanium
later.
And color obsession,
Yeah.
we use the same attachment. It looks pretty similar.
So if you get particles or hair, you can pull them out.
If, you know,
If it's dust, I just sink the dust. But if it's a hair that you can see, pull it out. So with my giant manta, these are. I can talk about where I get these, right? I'm gonna do a shout out because she's awesome and I buy from her regularly. These are her. There's acetate.
No louder.
They're acetate printouts of animals. She has a lot of different ones. Hammerheads, nurse sharks, giant mantas are new, turtles. There's all kinds. Dolphins. I think she has porpoises. So her name's Lauren McLeod, and she owns Mermaid Trash, and I think she's in Boca Raton. So I get them on her website. They're really great. You just cut them out and you sink them in your resin. Kind of just place them in your tacky resin, and then my next coat that I'm gonna do, because I usually do a second color coat like this, just like this, to give it one more layer of depth. It makes it look really real. And then a final flood coat. I'll do that, especially if it's for, like Rhonda was saying, if it's for something that's high traffic. Countertops, tables, I always do a flood coat, just to give it extra protection.
It also adds
So-
extra depth too, I think. Especially with is something with an art piece, you know, something really nice high end,
Yeah,
gives it a little extra depth.
exactly. So it gives it that, it looks like you're on the boat looking down
Hmm.
At the bottom of the ocean. It's really cool. So I'm just gonna sink this little guy in kind of right here because I want him, tomorrow I'm gonna do another coat on this, and I want him to be here so that when I push my next wave over him, it looks like he's swimming under the wave. Okay?
Are you worried about tapping resin on top of him or just making sure it?
Sometimes I will, just to feel more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to, if you have extra resin, you can just pour some over it. But you want to be careful because if you're gonna pour more resin on your piece, you're gonna get movement. So it'll move your waves around and make it look not so good. But I'm gonna leave him because tomorrow I'm gonna do another coat. But I may just push his little tail and his wings down. You know, just to make sure he's pretty sunk in there.
you can also just cut sticky ones on a cricket and just put them under your first layer.
You can. Like just black or gray is what you guys use?
Well, usually I just get Jeff to airbrush it on.
Do you want to
Well, not all of us have a Jeff.
Everyone needs
You have a shark.
This
Make
is
it sharky.
kind of got him all wet. I'm gonna do just
Where am I?
Does anybody have questions?
Where am I?
On a table, you don't use the UTC?
Pardon? I think we're almost done.
Okay. I just was trying to know when to start.
Okay.
Wrap it up, ladies.
Sorry.
You don't
Chop,
use
chop.
The top coat on tables?
The
UTC?
ultimate top coat,
Yeah.
always. I don't even give my customers an option for not a top coat anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you
we
do a-
had this conversation yesterday.
Yeah, you do a
So-
flat coat and then the UTC.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and depending on which UCC your customer chooses, now that we have the option between the gloss and the matte.
Okay.
So I recently did one for a restaurant, and before the gloss had come out, obviously we only had the matte, so we did the matte finish. They turned out great. I'm gonna go back though and talk to them and give them the option. I'm gonna bring a sample board and give them the option to upgrade. or to change to the gloss, because the gloss to me I feel looks more natural for the ocean, right? It's shinier.
Yes.
So yeah.
I would just tape off your wave, do the matte where the sand is, and then gloss where the ocean is.
Will it be more realistic?
Yeah. If it were mine, or if I was doing a table, that's what I would do.
So then what you're saying is like right here, if I did this for a customer, this area tape off, do matte finish for the sand, and then do the gloss for the ocean. And then that line right there, isn't it going to be compromised ever?
I don't know. That'd be a cute Rhonda question.
You could do the gloss just a little bit up onto the sand and then do the matte over.
Rhonda, you're being called out.
Because you want to do that. Because then all the sand would be matte, but it would also.
Come on in here.
We're going to have to test it.
What's my question?
Rhonda, could you
No, you gotta get behind the scenes.
Gotta get on cam.
So Erica had a good point. She said, couldn't you use the matte finish for the sand? Because what I did was I'm doing like I'm doing a table. So she was saying, could you just matte finish the sand, tape it off, and then do the gloss UTC for the ocean part? Absolutely. Would you overlap that edge so you don't have compromise? You know, someone's
Transition line?
Yeah, I would definitely overlap it.
Plates, and they're sliding their plates across.
I would put my gloss over my matte instead of my matte over my.
Yeah. Gloss over the matte.
Because the ocean's on top of this thing.
That was easy. I was on my question.
And
Top coat's fairly clear. It's not gonna interrupt a plate sliding.
Tara, the mermaid one will be in your one, in your piece.
That is awesome. So I would not swim in your beach because of that thing.
Yeah, but what about her? She's got a shark.
Oh,
I know you would.
He looks like he's on a leash.
Yeah, is he good?
Oh no, what is that?
He's on a leash.
I want a beach where there's no critters.
It's called a pool.
You know there's no such thing, right?
Did I answer your question?
All right.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Erica, you want to wrap this up real quick?
Oh yeah, thanks for watching. Keep kind of one another. You never know when someone's going through, and we'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye.